I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right.
Just make sure it stays.
I think it's good. I don't think we're turned it off. All right, we have an additional agenda item. Place it down on number 19 on other matters, which is contract.
Should we specify what contract?
Yeah.
For the agenda item is the team, with the Teamsters.
Right,
Okay.
on number 19.
Yes, okay.
Okay. Then hold on. Do I have a motion on the consent agenda?
I move that we approve the consent agenda.
Do I have a second? Motion's made and seconded. Those in favor? Aye. Okay. Public comments, citizen may address the council on items that may or may not be on the subject meeting tonight agenda. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes. The council reserves the right to limit the number of speakers pertaining to the same topic in the interest of the meeting efficiency and expediency. Okay, thank you. So do we have any public comments? Yes.
I have some. So I have three questions, I guess. They have some multiple parts. I wrote down some of my questions so that I can pass them out. And as you get to the agenda items, maybe it'll be helpful to address some of the questions. Would it be okay, Mr. Mayor, if I passed out the
Go
questions?
ahead.
Yeah. So first I just wanted to say, I haven't been here for a while. I'm sorry. I haven't been here for a while. But since I've come, I just wanted to compliment the town on the new look of its webpage. I think it's really helpful. And the other thing is, if you don't go to that webpage often, but you're a citizen and you want to, you have some questions, there's a question box in there. And I just wanted to say thank you to the town people, because whenever I send a question in, I get a really prompt response. So I think that's a big improvement in transparency, and I mean, I really appreciate it. So my three questions are about town personnel, the water improvement project, and Tri-Cities, and I think all three of them are on your agenda today. So on the personnel, I just wanted to ask whether, we seem to be moving away from local professionals. I'm talking about the town engineer and the town attorney, and I'm sure there are really good reasons to involve other professionals outside of Lakeview, because we have some, big projects and very specialized issues, and we need specialized professional help. But I kind of feel sorry that, we aren't referring to local professionals in any respect if we have a completely outside engineer and a completely outside town attorney. We have a long history of both of those positions being filled from professionals in the town, and I'd just like to hear some explanation of why we don't anymore. On the second one, water improvement project. So, I was at the meeting in last October when we were talking about the Tri-Cities project, and one of the concerns that I had at that meeting was that taking on something new and big like the Tri-Cities project might detract from our ability to perform under the water project, which is, I think it should be still our first priority here in town. And I just really want to emphasize that's got to, the Tri-Cities thing is a great expansion of our opportunities, but, water is the most important thing. And, we had an article in the paper the other week that said not all the paperwork had been submitted to the state, and I'd just like to hear an explanation, update, and make sure that we're tracking well and that project's, on budget and within the time frame that we talked about. And then the third one is a Tri-Cities, and on the Tri-Cities, it's newer. There's been less discussion of it publicly, so far as I know, since the meeting in October at the dispatch center. So there's a lot of questions, pretty specific questions in here that maybe we'll get to. Quite a few of them have to do with the proponent of the project, Mr. Green in John Day. He's cycling out of his town manager's job, and so the questions are sort of, well, what role will he have in Tri-Cities? Will John Day continue to be involved if he's not there? How does it impact us? That sort of stuff. So you can have a look at these questions. Maybe we don't get to. You got a very full budget. Agenda tonight, and maybe I don't know how long we'll be here, but maybe
a lot of these questions will be answered as we go down through this.
that's perfect, Mr. Mayor. So that was my intention, was to give you a little bit of a heads up and just outline some of my questions and thoughts, and if I can be helpful in explaining the questions, please let me know.
Well, I can tell you that on the town engineer,
Yes.
the one we selected, this is what they do with water treatment plants. So they have the most experience at it.
Right. But is that the town engineer, or is that just a consultant for this project?
That's just the water treatment plant, the ones that we're using for water treatment.
So that was my question. Have we forsaken with our local engineering firm, or are we just taking in some specific expertise? I guess the same thing would be true for the town attorney.
We'll get to most of that. The engineering firm that we have selected for the water treatment plant, that is their specialty, and
Right.
that's why we went that direction.
Makes sense, right?
And part of that is, as we all know, Lakeviews had a lot of failed projects over the last 50 years with the energy plants that they've tried to put in everything else, and that's what we don't want to see happen again.
Sure.
And that's why we went with somebody that specializes with water treatment.
Thank you.
Okay. Any more public comments?
Yeah, if I could?
Yeah.
My name's Patricia Traxler. I am the manager of Access Taxi here in Lakeview, Oregon. We just came to town at the end of January, and I would first like to say thank you to everybody for welcoming us here in town. The owner, Dennis Utley, and I have seen a need for transportation and reliable transportation in your community. And Access Taxi would like to offer our services to everyone here in Lakeview to bring independence to those that don't have reliable and affordable transportation to get to and from appointments, grocery shopping, whatever their needs may be. Or if it's somebody with a disability that can't get out of their home to do their grocery shopping, we can facilitate that also. We also saw a need too with the lack of major stores here in Lakeview. There's only one grocery store. We also see the need for a shuttle service that we could offer to take the community from here in Lakeview over to Klamath Falls, a minimum of about 3 people with a small fee, or online ordering to pick up from like Fred Meyer's, Walmart, Home Depot, anything like that, to bring it back to the community. The reason that we are here is because we are servicing your traveling nurses that are helping with the hospital, the clinics, the long-term care. So we are contracted to be here in Lakeview no later than, as of right now, we're contracted on until April 1st. With that contract, it's allowing me to come into your community and offer you our services. So I just wanted to make sure that I put that out there. And I know I've been posting and blowing up Facebook, but I have business cards, I have rate schedules and stuff also, because we still need to be able to make somewhat of a profit here. I do have one local driver. I'm sure everybody's heard of JD Niece. She is my only driver right now. and she's doing a great job for the community. So I just wanted to put that out there, that we are here and we're not going anywhere.
Welcome to Lakeview.
Thank you.
Okay, any more public comments? Hearing none, we'll move on down to Lakeview Volunteer Fire Department. Brianna?
Brianna, I'm the Secretary Treasurer for the Lakeview Volunteer Fire Department. I'm filling in for Jesse tonight, who's out of training for his work. I provided you guys with the budget from the $8,000 that was granted to the Volunteer Fire Department, but Jesse also wanted me to let you guys know. He's working on building a proposal for department transition. He's meeting with Oregon State Fire Marshal, other chiefs in our district, along with the 911 and everyone else, working on trying to incorporate our budget with their budget. At our last meeting, we changed our meeting nights to accommodate cross-training with Thomas Creek Westside Fire Department and the New Pine Creek Fire Department. So we will meet the first Monday of every month from now on. The Lakeview Rural Fire Department is continuing to develop high-capacity well and water source at Lehman Station. Multiple repairs took place with the money that you guys granted us. In the last 24 hours, a small hydraulic hose was replaced on the ladder truck. A piece of plumbing from 3121 developed a leak at our training that most of you, if you follow Facebook, saw the guys bowling with hoses. When they were doing that, they found a leak in the truck. It was fixed today and repaired. They did the annual service for the apparatus. The annual service for the apparatus will start scheduling as soon as Jesse gets back. Chief Morris has more details that he will present to you guys when he gets back, and he's sorry he couldn't be here. And then if you have any questions on the budget, I'll answer them for you that I provided. Or any fire department questions in general that I can answer.
I see you're starting to get more members.
We are. So 3 since last month's meeting, I believe. So, yeah, it's exciting. And we are training, so the meeting thing to train it with Thomas Creek and New Pine Creek, the idea behind it is our meeting nights fell on Thomas Creek Westside Fire Department's training nights, so we moved ours up so we could attend their meetings and they're also can attend ours, but then, so essentially it's meeting, training at their place and training at our place. And New Pine Creek obviously is in on it too with their fire department.
Good, okay. While you're still up, you go ahead and go to Irish Day.
Okay. That very large packet that I provided you guys has all the insurance information for the Irish Day celebration. 2 things that I'm looking for from you guys is approval to close the road as normal for Irish Day, so the same road as normal. I'm not changing anything, nothing like that, for roughly an hour on the 12th. And then the other thing is, most of you know that Anderson's food truck is stationed at the the laundromat. We want to move them up to in front of the chamber for both Friday and Saturday night for pub crawlers to be able to provide food for those people that are out late, so that if they're drinking, there's food source right there as well. So essentially they'll be parked in the 2 parking spaces in front of the chamber at those 2 days. I've had it approved by ODOT. The sheriff's office signed off. Along with putting a few people after the parade in the town parking lot as well to leave people uptown for a longer period of time on Irish Days.
Okay, any questions for her?
No questions. I move we approve the chamber's request for St. Patrick's Day festivities.
Perfect, thank you.
I'll second that.
Motion made to second, those in favor?
Aye.
Okay,
Thank you.
all right, let's move on down to Dirk. No, wait, excuse me. The Oregon Hunters Association has a request, but they don't say how much they're looking for. Is anybody here from the Oregon Hunters Association?
You're looking for a family swim pass.
Mayor Ray,
Family swim pass.
Mayor Ray,
All right,
I think if we give it to Oregon Hunters, we'd have to give it to Rocky Mountain Elks.
like Rotary, Seropolis, Casey's, Elks Club, we have to start that. And I think that the Oregon Hunters Association makes probably $15,000 or $20,000 off their banquet every year. That goes back to the state. So that's my feeling.
Well, yeah, and they bring in people from out of town to stay here for the night. From my understanding, I haven't been one for quite a while, but there's usually a lot of people I don't know that came from out of town. And I think they would qualify for the lodging tax. They have to put an application in for it, yeah.
It's been virtual the last couple of years. They haven't had
Yeah,
anything.
But I was wondering if they were gonna do it this year for sure or not.
Not sure either.
I think the paper said it said we're back, so I was assuming they meant they were back.
They're having a banquet.
It's
I
May
guess
7th. I think it's May 7th.
I guess the way I'm interpreting their request, maybe I'm wrong, is that they were unable to hold the banquet last year and we had given them a family swim pass last year and they're wanting to know if they can still have that for this year.
I think it was that they bid on at their dinners.
Right,
But
right,
correct.
but, yeah, but it was donated by the town. So I think they're just asking if they would still have that same one that was already given previously.
I don't have a problem with that. Swim pass.
Anyone else? John?
You mean like for everyone?
No,
Like the school did? Or just
no,
No,
one
just
swim
one
pass.
One swim
One
pass,
family swim pass.
and then the people at the auction bid.
the auction bid on it?
John?
I'm okay with that.
Motion made and seconded.
No, well, we didn't do this.
I'll make a motion that we donate the family swim pass, one family swim pass to the OHA banquet.
I'll second.
Motion made and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. That's all this. All right, Little League, grant letter.
Okay, so I know most of you guys, but just as an introduction, I'm Brandy Nider. I'm the Lakeview Little League Board Treasurer. I've been with the Lakeview Little League Board since 2020 when I was brought in as a fundraising coordinator, and then the last 2 years as a treasurer. Just a little background on the Lakeview Little League. It is a nonprofit. It operates underneath the bylaws of the National League. And right now we have 7 board members. We're all volunteers. Most of us are parents. We have an active board, a working board, and we're gearing up for the season right now. As far as what we provide and what we run for the Little League is last year we had 150 youth ages 4 to 13 that registered for the Little League. That's 5 divisions, and we usually run about 18 to 20 teams. Financially, our operating budget is approximately $12,000 per year, and that covers uniforms, fees, post office, power, gear. Pretty much wraps that all up. What we bring in for sponsorships and registration fees covers our operating budget. As far as fundraising is what goes towards fields and facilities. And I haven't been involved very long, but over the years they have fundraised and they have saved money in order to put back into the fields and facilities. Last year we upgraded the coach pitch field and we put a sprinkler system in and we put a sod on the coach pitch field, which cost approximately $36,000. And that was years of saving for fundraising. Last year we fundraised, we did a raffle sale, we brought in $8,000, and the board decided that that's what we need to do was with our fundraising we put back into the fields and facilities. However, realizing how much it was just to upgrade the coach pitch field and knowing that we need to do that with the t-ball field and knowing that there's a lot of work to do down there, we realized that there's no way that we can just fundraise to do all the things that are needed down there. So what we decided to do is we wrote a letter to the Collins Mcdonald Trust asking for support to help us upgrade fields and facilities. We submitted that in November, and they called in December and we discussed it. They were very interested in supporting what we had listed for our priority upgrades, but they requested that we connect with you because it is the town of Lakeview that owns the property. And so that's where I am here tonight, connecting with you. So I guess kind of lay it out, you know, I mean, this can be a lot more conversation. This is going to be discussion between you guys. I wrote a letter, and you probably have that, and there's a table on there that lists our priority upgrades. And if you didn't get it, I will give you it now. This is not the letter. This is just the table in which it has our task objectives, what we have identified is the greatest need at this time, and cost estimates. But also on there, you guys and what we're requesting for Mcdonald, what the Little League is able to contribute. And we've also looped in the Lakeview School District because they received grant funds and they gave us some grant funds last year. And so with all of this, that left column is basically what we are looking to do in 2022. The next column is what we anticipate for the cost. Mcdonald request, our contribution. We met with the school district yesterday, Mr. Carter and Mr. McKay with maintenance, and they offered to contribute a great deal of in-kind support to what we've already listed. And Lakeview Ready Mix is going to donate concrete to our dugouts. And so with this said, I guess I leave you with considerations for what, the town can do. And we're just wanting to see how we could partner. We're wanting to see what kind of support that you can give, whether it's in kind, whether it's funding, whether it's just updating the agreement. Because I believe at one time there was probably agreement, and I'm not sure if that's still in place. We don't know what it might even say. However, I do know that I believe the town does take care of the water because we do not receive a water bill. And one of the things that Babe Ruth did request, they said, come here tonight. They said that it was a big thing on their mind is maintaining the water, but also they put a lot of their own funds or out of pocket from parents to keep the pipes and everything going and all the maintenance and repairs with them. And so that was something that they would ask that you guys consider. And so at the very bottom of that is just some things, that we're looking at. And that is my spiel. So I open to questions or next steps.
I can give you another place that you can look for funding. It's through Parks and Recreation.
Correct? Okay. Parks and Recreation.
Because I have seen things in there that were parks, baseball fields, and stuff like that.
Okay, perfect. And then I can find that online.
Should be able to.
Parks and Recs.
I was talking to Commissioner Albertson about it a couple of days ago. He had a contact with Oregon Parks and Rec. They said they had special funding this year. So
Perfect. We'll definitely look into that. I know this will probably be something that we'll do over time. I think the Mcdonald, I think we could get one big step forward, and then there's obviously more to do down there, so we'll look at that.
Has Mcdonald given you a timeline?
Well, I met them in December. I let them know that I would connect with the town and that I will get back to them. And so they have not given a timeline. I did reach out to them in January, said we're working on, I wasn't sure how to navigate the town. I wasn't sure who to talk to or, who to direct or how to even get on your agenda. So I appreciate we're here, we're connecting. And so I would like to get back to them as soon as possible to let them know that we have connected, but I think that they're going to say, so what is the town, what can the town do? And I think that's what I need to let them know.
Is there a meter that shows how much water they've used?
There is.
So that would be an in-kind for sure,
Yeah.
amount of money.
Considerable.
Exactly, and they've done that for many years, so that's would be quite expensive if you had to pay for your own water.
Oh, absolutely. And I will show that in the table. I think I'll update this. We will put water.
But I think we can get you $1 now
as to the value.
as to the value,
Right,
you know, to help you with that.
for
Yeah.
sure.
So, and I don't know, I really support the Little League fields and the Babe Ruth field, and I think that we need to make it a place where districts come back to Lakeview to play the Little League districts here, where, like it used to be in the past.
Mm-hmm.
And we need to improve the fields in order for that to happen
Right.
in the
Yeah,
areas.
there's a huge need. And yeah, you guys know, we drive by there all the time and we see the weeds. And one thing that we did do last year, which has proven successful, is we did hire and contract a gentleman to do mowing, weeding, and watering. And just that alone, the amount of weeds that we have to deal with next month when we want to start practicing is nothing like it was the year before and the year before. So we want to continue that. And
So do they need a letter or something from the town advising that we're in support, or?
well, I want to say what I'll do is I'll update this table. I'll put in the water that you guys take care of as a supporter contributor. And then if there's anything else that you guys discuss amongst yourself that you are able to help with, let me know. I can put it on there, and I don't think there's anything else that would be needed though.
I think the Little League needs to, I think the agreement that we had in the past has expired, and that needs to be back in place. So I don't know if we should have copies of the other agreements so that we can update it. And all it does is give you permission to use it for $1 a year.
Right.
Well, I know at one point that Buddy Ness and them were working on a new contract with the town, and we haven't seen it since. So.
Nothing's transpired of it. This is our busy season right now, but I know we want to update some of our policies and procedures, and so I think it would be a good time. Would you like us to do a draft and then?
Well, what I would maybe suggest is that we find the old agreement and then meet with you and we can go through it and make what changes we need to.
Okay. Yeah, if anybody can find that, I'm not sure if we have any records of that, and not that I'm aware of.
Check with Buddy.
Okay, for sure. Okay.
But I think we could say that you have the support of the town.
Okay.
So you can let Collins Mcdonald know that, and maybe they
Well,
see.
Right.
renting the land for $1 a year is another contribution, I guess.
I'll leave it
For sure.
If we all put a quarter in, it'll be.
Yeah.
There it is, right there. Okay. Well, if there's nothing else, thank you guys very much.
Thank you,
All right, move on to
Randy.
All right, Dirk, the Bullard Racetrack update.
Good evening. Dirk, and with ARMA, and I just wanted to give you guys an update on where we are. Things are really starting to hop, and every time I don't have an answer, I come to one of y'all, and I get answers right away, and I can't believe the doors that are opening over here. So it's just been amazing. We did have a hiccup, and I really wanted to apologize. I should have saw it before I saw it, and I didn't. It didn't come up that I wish I could have talked to and laid it off before. He was very upset with us. I understand his position, but I think I could have done a better job, obviously, with that. But everything's looking good. Some of the things we're working on right now is while we're waiting for the snow to disappear, we got cleanup, and then dirt. I think we've got a pretty good donation of dirt to put up on some of the portions of the track, and I want to make sure that that's okay with you guys. It's good topsoil. It's really good soil. Now that the soil is available, we just got to figure out how to get it up there. So the other thing we need is I think we have water. This is all on a handshake. So nothing. You're on no contracts. I don't know how to do any of that. But I think we have a water truck. I've been trying to get a hold of. Jeff had suggested the fair. What's that thing called with the hose comes down?
Yeah, they have a a water source that's non-potable.
And
So they're not using,
so I'm not having a whole lot of luck getting a hold of whoever operates the fairgrounds, so I'll continue on, but, I just want to let you know, every time we have a problem, somebody comes up with a solution, and it's pretty cool to work with it like that. It's a lot of fun. Anybody have any questions?
No, you've got all your tree removals and rocks and stuff taken care of?
Well, we gotta go pick them up yet, they're down. Kevin came in and did the tractor work for us, and it came in and snowed before, I could afford to get more tractors up there. This is a far more expensive endeavor than I anticipated. Nothing's cheap these days. I need 10 toilets up there, and they're like, that's $1,000 right there alone that I had not anticipated. But as life goes on, I want to do a good job, so we'll do it. But we will get up there as soon as we can get back up in there. We'll get them all bucked up and get the wood stacked. And our mess will be cleaned up. The area will be cleaned up. Okay.
Just keep us in the loop on everything.
Yeah, it's time for, I should be back every month now with stuff, but I run into you, I run into you guys all over the place. It's insane. I need something, and I go, huh. I turn around and somebody's standing there, I go, by the way. And then I couldn't, to be honest with you, I couldn't do it without Bruce. He's my
I don't do
right hand.
anything.
Huh?
I don't do anything.
Yeah, that's right. Talk to us. Yes, I'm saying?
Well, I was gonna ask you, I don't know if Ray or anyone knows about the issue with the ditch, the creek crossing there.
Why don't you explain that?
Okay, well, as you know, there's a little creek crossing, dry most of the time, but we've looked into, if we could, it's very steep. And that's a problem for bigger trucks and ambulance, for instance, you really can't get through it. We thought about, well, we could even put in a temporary culvert, and we looked into that, talked to the fish people, and the fish people don't like it. So even though there's hardly any water there, it's dry most of the year, but it's historical banded trout habitat out there in the dry dirt. And so anyway, we have an issue. We need to do something. They suggested maybe do some grading so it wasn't quite as steep on each side, and maybe do some fill in the creek bed, put some rock and stuff in there. But we have not converged on what's the right
Just
answer.
knock both edges back, so it rolls in easily.
Yeah, when you take a pickup through, I drag my trailer hitch. You're going through. So if anybody has any ideas on what we should do right now, where it's an issue where we haven't dealt with a solution yet.
There is one more issue. I should have brought this up first. June 11th and 12th, we're definitely going to be in fire season. And state says they'll give us a permit, but I have a conflict. It's my daughter-in-law who's going to write the permit. And so I was hoping perhaps the city could request the permit. You are the property owners. I don't want to put her, she just got promoted. I don't want to be a part of her being decommissioned there. If you guys would consider that.
We'll have to look at the liability of that. Talk to our insurance company,
Well, my insurance or yours?
our insurance.
Okay,
When-
now
when
recall
we-
I have 5,000 on each, or 5 million on each one.
Right, but when we take the permit out, that was the liability is not gonna count on that.
I didn't think about that.
We'll have to look at it on the correction. So
Get back to
we'll
you.
We'll have to get back.
Sure.
Not the answer for the council, but that's.
No worries. That's why we're talking about it now, so we can, work it out. So.
Could your daughter's supervisor or somebody else do the permits so that it takes all of the?
My daughter's Teresa Williams or Teresa Gabriel, stepdaughter or daughter-in-law, and she just was promoted to number 2 in the ODF, so she would be signing the permit. I understand that her associate is now back at work, so that might change, Justin. So that might fix itself.
Or they could go higher up, maybe at the state level or something, I don't know.
Sure.
Just so that it's not the direct.
Well, there's a solution. We'll figure it out. I just, there's a problem. I wanted to bring it up, and we'll find a solution.
I think part of the crew goes to work with Jeff and Scott on that.
Oh, yeah. I talk to them fairly often. Every time I'm here, I come find them. Seems like every time I turn around, you're there.
I know, everywhere.
So, thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you. All right, let's move on down. Transition to a new attorney, Jeremy M. Green, Bryant, Loveland, and Jarvis.
Yes,
Michelle?
so we are, I wanted to take a brief moment to thank Jeff Hedlund. He's been our town attorney for many years, and we're grateful for all of the work and time and effort that he put towards town. We have decided to go with a new town attorney, Jeremy Green. The decision wasn't made lightly. It was made because the town is needing more in-depth information and contracts that will protect the town. And so we're excited for him to come on board. But we certainly don't want to leave Jeff feeling like we're not thankful for what he did, because we are. So, Jeremy's provided a great deal of information and support to us, and I'm really excited for him to come on board. Part of what I've asked from Jeremy, and I just wanted to run it by you before I actually put it into play, but some of our town council meetings don't really necessarily require an attorney to be present. So I would like to have Jeremy be here when we need him and not here when we're not, to save money. I think it's a good effort, and I think that when we have a lot of items on the agenda, he's available to us. And whenever we need him, he is. But there's just sometimes where we have like 2 or 3 items on the agenda, and they're easily to talk about, and we can keep out of the weeds with them. So if you're okay with that, I'd like to proceed in that direction where we have him here when we need him, and we proceed without him when we're feeling like we're okay.
I have no problem.
We proceeded that way in the past.
Yeah,
Okay, I didn't know. I just felt like that was,
You know,
yeah, sometimes,
we don't have a legal issue, we don't need a legal guy.
right. But it does save money to the town. And I felt like that was a really good, efficient move for us. So, that's all I have on that. So welcome to Jeremy Green.
Jeremy, do you have anything to add?
Not really. I've been before you multiple times now, so the introductions, you've heard my spiel, if you will. In general, I've really enjoyed over the past year or so working with you, all of you. You have a wonderful staff and management team. Have really enjoyed and appreciated having the opportunity to work with them as well, and look forward to working with you in the future.
Okay. All right, let's move on down to.
Question? Yeah. Can I ask 2 questions? First one is, Michelle, can you give us a little bit of a summary of the fiscal impact of changing from a local attorney to a regional attorney? And the second question is, and maybe Mr. Green would be easier to answer this one, is about conflict of interest. And especially conflict of interest on the Tri-Cities project, because he is also the town attorney for Burns and for John Day. So I just have a question about how, Lakeview's best interest is handled if you're our town attorney and if you're also the consortium attorney.
Council, do you want me to respond to that, or?
Please.
Sure, okay. So, first of all, as it relates to being the consortium's attorney, I'm not the consortium's attorney as of right now. The consortium hasn't been formed. And so until that consortium is formed, there's really no need for legal advice, right? Once the consortium has officially been formed, then it will be up to the consortium to make the appointment as to whom will represent them. Does that make sense?
It does, but I don't agree. So there is an agreement that forms the consortium, and in the agreement, you specifically wrote it,
right?
And you say that you're representing only the city of John Day, not Lakeview or Burns.
In the formation. So again, I'm not gonna get in a debate with you, this isn't the proper
No,
forum.
we're talking about conflict of
Sure,
interest.
sure, so I'm gonna answer your question. Again, I don't represent the consortium as of now. As part of the formation process, you are correct. I am representing technically the city of John Day. Why is that? Because as you know, I can't represent multiple parties adverse to each other, existing clients. It's not legally, or I should say ethically feasible. As it relates to the conflict that was actually disclosed at the outset when this project was first, or idea was first presented, the potential conflict was identified immediately. All of the city managers discussed the potential conflict, and of course, as you know, conflict waivers were signed. The language.
I didn't know that, by the way.
Well, you do know now. And in the agreement language, that specific provision that you referenced is consistent with the conflict waiver.
So who then represents the town of Lakeview in the formation of the consortium?
That is up for the town. I mean, as again, part of the conflict waiver, part of that process is identifying to the town, specifically the town of Lakeview and Burns, the need to seek independent legal counsel if the town so desires, or in the case of the city of Burns, if the city of Burns so desires. I don't know if you're familiar representing small rural communities. Sometimes those communities do that, sometimes they do not. So that's the status of the conflict. Our legal representation is just not mine. My firm's legal representation is that of John Day as it relates to the formation process. And then once the entity has effectively been formed, which will not occur until July 1st, at that time the consortium will have to go out and retain its own legal counsel.
So you couldn't represent the town of Lakeview and Burns and John Day and the consortium, is that right?
Well, I couldn't represent all three of them adverse to each other as it relates to the formation of the entity, that is correct. Once the consortium is formed, if the consortium wanted to reach out and retain our office to do legal work for the consortium, then that's up to the consortium. But again, it would be a situation where we'd have to get potential conflict waivers in place.
Wow. So who, Mr. Mayor and Michelle, who will represent, thank you, who will represent the town of Lakeview in considering the content of the consortium agreement?
Right now, we don't know until that time comes.
But we have a draft on the table, right? The agreement's on the table and it's meant to be signed in February according to the draft and effective in July. So I just wonder, I want to make sure, you know, I'm for Lakeview and I want to make sure that Lakeview's best interests are fairly protected by a lawyer that does not have a conflict of interest, because, you know, Mr. Green says he's prepared it from the perspective of the city of John Day. That agreement.
Yeah, the truth of that is correct, 100%. And again, as I noted, I cannot represent multiple parties adverse to each other, right, in the same transaction. The reality is, though, with respect to this particular agreement, and again, as I've encouraged Michelle, and I would encourage the council as well, to seek out their own independent legal review. The reality is, there is no language in this agreement that is slanted one way or the other. The reality is, this agreement is set up for the benefit of all three communities.
But that's not true, Mr. Green. The language in the agreement that you wrote says, in the event that there's a conflict about the agreement, where does the dispute get resolved?
What do you mean? Are you talking about venue?
I'm talking about the clause that you wrote that says if the parties have a conflict, have a disagreement about what the agreement means,
Right.
then they take the case to court in.
That's what I just asked you. Are you talking about venue?
Apparently, yeah.
Well,
Is it crooked? So it's not a neutral. It's not a neutral jurisdiction.
That if you're suggesting that is slanting an agreement one way or the other, I think you're dead wrong. I'd be more than happy to discuss that with you at any time outside this meeting. But to cherry pick that venue, I mean, we could select Deschutes County. We could select Multnomah County.
Probably should, right? Neutral.
Not necessarily, because you're assuming that because a city is located in a particular county that there's bias.
I'm not assuming that. I'm just assuming there's a cost. There's a cost to Lakeview of having a lawyer appear in Crook County that doesn't exist for the city of John Day.
Right. Again, council, I don't know if you want me to go back and forth. This doesn't seem like it's the proper
I
forum
think
for
we're
it.
just wasting time.
Yeah, but your point is so noted, but I think your concerns about the conflict issue, again, self-serving comment coming from the lawyer, of course, I'll acknowledge that. The agreement is not intended to be slanted or biased towards any particular municipality, period. The idea is it is a collaborative effort that is supposed to be a win-win for all three communities, and frankly, more communities in the future as other communities potentially join up. That's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Okay. Now I've lost where I'm at.
12.
12. Okay, regional rural revitalization, R3 strategies, or
Hold on, Mayor, I think that Mr. McGowan asked a question to me, which I would like, if it's okay with the council, to answer about the financial and fiscal responsibility or burden to the town. Mr. McGowan, we have retained, Jeff Hedlund on a month-to-month payment. Mr. Green is by what we need. So he is saving us money in the long run. Because sometimes I need him more frequently and there's other times that I just don't. Whereas Jeff, it was a 3,500.
I think it was 3,500.
It was $3,250 a month, for his services on retainer. And then if he went over a certain number of hours, we paid an hourly fee in addition. Whereas the agreement with Mr. Green's firm is that we just pay hourly for the services rendered.
So is there a budget adjustment for adding new counsel?
No, we anticipated that we would be having more attorney fees this year because we were under the water treatment and we've got a lot of big projects, so we are not over budget. And we anticipated that we would be paying a little bit more this year. Because we've got collective bargaining agreements that we're paying for, we've got other attorney fees that we're paying for, so it was anticipated and it is line items.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
alright.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay,
You're on number 12.
Regional rural revitalization, R3 strategies, RS 190 intergovernment entity. Michelle, you
Yep.
want to go on with that one?
I will. So, we presented this, back in October as Tri-Cities, which at that time, there were only John Day, Burns, and Lakeview, which is a Tri-Cities. Since then, we moved the name simply because it is a regional rural revitalization. And we are receiving an overwhelming amount of response from other rural communities to join with the Tri-Cities. And so we had Council Harmon with us and other city manager from Burns and a council member with him and John Day, city manager, and a council member with him, where we discussed the transition from going from a Tri-Cities to an R3, so that eventually down the road, not now, we wanna be able to put some wins under our belts, but that it made the most sense to have it be an R3 or regional rural revitalization, so that other cities could come in and we could help after we've got wins underneath our belt to coach them how that works, so that there's gonna be processes and procedures and structure to be able to pass on to other rural communities, because we're not the only ones that are needing help. Environments are changing, things are expensive, and a lot of our other rural cities in Oregon are struggling and they wanna join in. So that's the only reason for the change. But what you have before you is that to go over, to review, we would like to be able to vote on it at the next town council meeting. I think it's important to say that, the reason why we're trying to do a Tri-Cities or an R3, now it's gonna take a while for me to transition out of saying the Tri-Cities, but the reason why we're doing R3 is so that we can resource and we can combine together to have bigger wins across the board for each town. For example, we've got a short session right now, and we have submitted to Representative Owen's office a request to get a chip sealer machine so that all of the towns can take advantage of that equipment and improve all of the streets. So if we were to do that independently of an R3 organization, it would be each one of our cities duplicating efforts and it would cost. But with one machine, we can transfer it to each city and get more use out of it. We're not trying to take away local jobs. We're not trying to become a paving company. We're not trying to do any of that. We're just trying to maximize effort and resources. So, so if you could please read over what we're proposing, and if you have questions, please ask me. I know Mr. McDonald has some questions that he has for the council, so I'm gonna let that be the information I wanna give to you. Because it's a lot. But I feel like it's a really great opportunity for Lakeview.
Okay. Anybody have anything you wanna add to it? Okay,
I would just like to ask, you presented like the bids for the chip sealer information. Did we get more than one bid or only one bid from one company?
We're actually asking the legislator for money to buy the machine.
I know, but when we bid, what I see is a bid.
We haven't done that yet
Oh,
because
okay,
we're just
okay.
asking for the money. And that information right there is where we're getting the information to ask
For
for.
how much, okay,
Right.
okay, so it's not technically
No.
the bid process.
We're
Okay.
just asking for the money. Yes,
Yeah.
that's correct.
See, if we had a chip sealer, we could do a lot of chip sealing in-house. And like, say we paved 9th Street that went down to the hospital, so you wouldn't get knocked off the gurneys in the ambulance, that might be a good thing. And you can share the chip sealer with 3 cities.
Right.
That's kind of a win-win. That's the first thing we've talked about before we even thought about this kind of stuff. And then running internet over through 3 cities would make this phenomenal here. And if you ask any business that wants to come in with 20 MBs we have, it's going to go up to 100. That's very lucrative for a lot of businesses that want to come in here. So that's kind of why we're pursuing this.
okay, next item is professional service agreement, engineering services, water treatment facility.
Okay, so this has been highly anticipated. This is for Anderson, Perry, and Atkins to begin all of the engineering for our water treatment facility. I want to be clear about why we're able to do this, so that information gets out there correctly. When COVID hit, there were 2 separate amounts of money that came to each town across the nation. I decided with that money to earmark it for the water treatment facility because I knew that there was going to be a lag time between when we were awarded our 15 million from House Bill 5006 to when we'd actually get the money. It's just how that goes. So we have used, I set aside that 580,000 from the COVID amount and from the first COVID amount. And I can get those numbers for you, I'm not recalling them right away, but I've used that money to go towards engineering services, which is the only reason we are able to move forward. There was let me address the article in the newspaper. We have had our paperwork in and filled out as completely as we can at Business Oregon for a very long time. I could not finish that paperwork because we haven't acquired an engineering firm. We're ahead of the game, so it was a little dicey. But with this contract, and we can decide, I'll be able to have Anderson Perry complete that application form and have it go to Business Oregon to put us in the queue. No one in the state of Oregon that was in that House Bill 5006 has received contracts or money. Part of what's exciting to me is because we were thinking ahead, most of the other towns, they're requiring to have their projects done by December 31st, 2026, which would make sense in the time frame that we're given because we still don't have contracts ready from Business Oregon. They're not ready to administer those yet at all for anyone. And I think we're probably another month out before we even see any type of movement. So we're able to move forward because we set aside money. Which means that instead of having an end date of 2026, our end date will be a year further because we're able to proceed. So have we lost the money? Are we not getting it? Has it been spent? We don't believe you. None of that is true. By law, the money is there. What's holding it up isn't us. It's they're not ready to distribute contracts yet. So when they are, we'll be in the queue. And I've called Business Oregon on many occasions, in particular after the article came out in the paper, to say, is there any jeopardy of us not receiving that money? And I am assured over and over and over again by Business Oregon and by their managers that there is absolutely no way that we will not receive our 15 million. Period. I've asked it a million times. So with this contract and agreement, I can ask Anderson Perry to complete those last 2 pages and get us in the queue. So there are still changes that there's still some refinement that needs to be added to this. This is a draft form. I'm hoping that we can agree to move forward with it pending my refinement and the attorney's final approval on this contract. Hopefully that clears up a bunch of stuff.
And Mike, you asked if that is still our number one project. Yes, it is.
That's what I'm dedicated to.
I've been on this water thing since 2016.
Oh my gosh, it'll be a 10-year project by the time it's done.
Well, yeah. Good.
I do have a question for Michelle about the earmark.
I'm sorry?
The earmark of
Sure,
funds.
yeah.
Yeah, is it allowed? I mean, are we permitted to use COVID funds for water engineering?
Yes, we are. I asked. And I also asked Business Oregon, because the contracts have come down with restrictions, I've asked Business Oregon what those restrictions are, because a lot of cities are running into problems.
Right.
The first restriction is the water project must be the same as safe drinking water revolving loan fund restrictions. And we're okay. We're absolutely
That's great.
under that. The second is, well, there's four. The next one is we cannot pay principal or interest on loans with money, which we will be able to reimburse the town from the COVID money, the 500 or whatever the engineering cost is, which is gonna be around 500, and I have the specific number, but
537.
that money will go back into the general fund because we'll reimburse ourselves because it's not a loan or interest. And I confirm that with Business Oregon, at which time it will be up to council as to what they want to do with that. Because we'll have it back. But because we have a number one priority of water, I felt like that was a good thing to do with that money. The next is that by December 31st, 2024, we must be under contract for construction, and we will be. And we have to be completed with our project by December 31st, 2026. Those are the restrictions.
Didn't you just say it was moving back now to 2027?
No, I didn't.
We're ahead.
We're at.
Where we're at,
Oh, I see.
Michelle, do you mind if I speak
Go,
on that?
please.
It was the opposite, I misunderstood.
Yeah.
It's the opposite, we're a year ahead, not a year behind.
That's correct.
Oh, great.
Because we're able to fund it with that COVID money. So we're running, we'll be about 8 months to a year.
Five is almost a year, that's great.
We should be under contract for actual construction before the end of this year, if everything goes as planned.
Oh, that's great.
So the main thing now is, once we get the service agreement signed, we can start moving forward with the actual engineering, and we can finish with the final paperwork in Business Oregon, which puts us close to the top of the process to get our actual.
Will the town have to borrow money in order to start the construction down payments on the construction cost? No.
This will be funded 100% through the grant, and we're not looking at borrowing any money.
Even on a short-term basis?
Even on a short-term basis, we're not looking for any.
That's great.
A short-term loan would put us in danger of losing our revenue.
Because we can't repay.
Because we can't repay.
Exactly.
So we save the ARPA money, which can be used for infrastructure, to pay upfront for engineering fees, because we need the engineering drawings in order to finish the contract. So it's,
Kind of a double-edged sword,
Yeah.
actually.
That's good, though.
Actually.
We're lucky that we had a pandemic,
Exactly.
in a way.
Yeah.
It saved us.
Sorry. Sorry. I mean, there's more and more federal money available for projects.
Remember who you're sitting next to.
I might move to this chair.
So yeah, that's kind of where things are right now, and to kind of address, we haven't been out in the public a lot with this project because we are waiting on the funding and to have more information, because as we feed little bits of information, it always seems to change, and then we're arguing back and forth with the public, where you said this, you said that.
Yeah.
There will be a meeting, once we get things set up and moving forward, we have a person that specializes in water analysis that will be there to go over all of our water results. We're in the process of testing every one of our wells at the wellhead, so we know what we're doing right. And the engineer will be there to explain the process and how we're going to do it. And hopefully we'll be doing that in the next 30 to 45 days, once we get all the paperwork signed and everything. So we will have an informational meeting on how we will be moving forward with this water facility.
If I can, just one last question. When we talked about this last time, I think we were at the dispatch center, and one of the questions was, we can spend the money to improve our water purification, but then if individual homeowners have corrupted lines from the town's main line into their residence, they might still experience bad water. And we talked a little bit about how we could have a public education campaign and maybe come up with some loan money or something so that individual homeowners could bear that, the cost of that upgrade. It might be too early to be the public education, but I just wondered if anything has been done about that so that the public is aware.
I've actually looked into that, because that's what we talked about over
Right,
there, and
yeah.
you and I have actually talked on the phone about it several times.
Yeah,
There is some grant opportunities for homeowners,
yeah,
but they'll have to go after that individually.
when it's done.
And we will do some education, because if we fix the water and we still have 30% of the people have groundwater, we still have a problem.
Right, that's right.
And it's gonna happen. So the only way to deal with that is be upfront on how it needs to work. And we will, as we move forward, and we'll have the engineers and our water specialists that we have, we'll have both of those involved in those conversations when we start educating the public. I plan on having several meetings throughout the build of this project to notify the public where we're at, how we're proceeding, if we're on schedule, if we're not on schedule, what their part's gonna have to be, which is from the meter to their house, what they need to look for at their house, because the old galvanized pipe, which we have a lot of it left in this town, if they still have that and it's rusty, they're still gonna have a groundwater.
That's right.
So we do plan on doing quite a bit of education.
Maybe inserts in water bills.
We can do that.
In their public education.
Yeah, we're gonna do some flyers, we're
Yeah.
gonna have several meetings, we're gonna be posting stuff on social media. And this is what I'm working with the engineer, what's the best way to put this out, because they've done this hundreds of times.
Okay.
So we're working with the engineering group on how to do that. They do a lot of small community water systems. So they've been down this road several times.
Okay, let's move on down. Professional service agreement, engineering services on.
Actually, Mayor, if you don't mind, we actually would like, or we're requesting that the council approve the professional services agreement with Anderson Perry, subject to any revisions that the town manager or town attorney deem necessary or appropriate.
Okay, so we need to go down and approve each one of these as we go.
Yes,
Okay.
please.
All right, do I have a motion to approve the engineering service on the water treatment plant?
I'll make a motion to approve it and then any changes in the attorney or the town manager.
I'll second.
Motion made and second, those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay,
Thank you.
let's go down to the engineering services advanced metering, this is on the smart meters,
What number is that?
14.
14.
Michelle, do you mind if I speak on that one?
Absolutely not, I would love that.
On the smart meters, where we are now is we're headed towards smart meters for Lakeview. And what that does is it takes us from, Jeff will attest to this, 5 or 6 guys, 4 or 5 days of walking through town reading meters. It takes it down to one person for an 8-hour day reading all the meters. That's the direction we're heading to deal with our carbon footprint, to help make our carbon footprint smaller. The reason why this got pushed up is because in the short session, there's some money available. Don't know if we'll get it or not. But we have to have some kind of plan or show that we're moving forward with the project to qualify for that money. We put in for 2.7 million for the meter upgrade. Don't know if we'll get it, but we have to have some kind of engineering agreement or service agreement showing that we are at least in the design process of this project. So that's why we went forward with this project. So hopefully we'll know in the next few weeks we should if we've got the money from the state or not.
And even if we don't, even if we aren't awarded in the short session, I'm submitting it for a bunch of other opportunities.
And the regular session. So
Hey Scott, how behind is Lakeview on smart meters compared to other communities our size?
we're way behind.
Like 2 or 3 years?
10 years, maybe more. Most small communities have gone to smart meters. Communities our size have gone to smart meters. Talking with Jeff, we have meters that have been in the ground for over 20 years.
Yeah.
So at some point, we're gonna have a meter failure, and meters, the lifespan of a meter is 10 to 15 years. So those meters that are in the ground for 40 years, are they accurate? Who knows? So we're gonna
Well, the
start.
metal ones get sandy, so
Right.
they're not.
We're gonna start
We're not
seeing
getting
more and more
paid for
meter
water.
failures as we go, so we're gonna have to replace these meters anyway.
Right.
So the smart choice is to start moving towards the smart meter choice. But that's why this project, I know it probably is the was kind of a surprise when it showed up, but it was a last minute deal. We found out that there was more money than anticipated in the short session. So we decided that this was a good project that we could get off the ground quickly. And engineering fees are pretty small for this project, so we went ahead and literally had 2 days to come up with everything and throw it in to get it in the short session.
Whether it gets funded by this or not, the engineering still needs to be done.
Still needs to be done.
The plan's not gonna expire. If it doesn't get funded by
Sure.
this, it's not gonna expire.
Right.
Yeah. And we do have, there's several grant opportunities, not just this one, for smart meters throughout the country right now with rural reclamations and the Safe Water Act. And we also have a regular session that's coming up where we want to do.
So a lot of the times on the grants, they're wanting basically shovel ready.
So we want shovel ready stuff.
Engineering's already done, then we're ahead of the game.
Yeah, we'll be looked at a lot better, a lot closer, because we've made the effort to go forward with the planning, which, you know, when they look at that as they're gonna do this project, so we might as well fund them and help them get it done.
We also, once we start changing out our meters, I've agreed with the commissioners to pass along some of our meters up to Paisley and to Christmas Valley, because they don't have any. So we won't be using them, so I just thought it could happen. So that's super nice. So again, this one we are hoping that you will approve pending additions from town manager and the attorney.
What was the amount of money on this one?
2.7 million is what we're asking for
That's
for the
what I'm
city.
asking for.
Yes.
Those meters run about $350 a piece, and then they have to have new risers in the install, so with the number of meters we have, it's right around 2.7 million project.
And the engineering services are
I think, what were they on?
10-5.
10.5.
10-5.
Yeah.
Okay, do I have a motion on the engineering services for the advanced metering infrastructure?
I'd like to make a motion to go ahead with professional services agreement and the engineering services advancement infrastructure.
Have a second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded. So-
Mayor, if I may, I'm sorry. It's just important that we have subject to any necessary revisions from the town manager or city attorney. If you wouldn't mind including that in your motion, that'd be helpful.
Okay,
Subject, so I'll state the motion, you can just say so
Okay,
moved, and we can move it along. But the motion should be to approve the professional services agreement, engineering services for advanced metering infrastructure, subject to any revisions that the town manager or town attorney deem necessary or appropriate.
Perfect, I'll second that.
So moved.
you gotta make the motion,
So moved.
then somebody else got to second it. Okay. All right, those approved, motion made and seconded, those approved?
Aye.
Okay. Almost one of having a year. Professional service agreement on engineering for services for the splash pad at Mcdonald Park.
So, as you know, we received a $75,000 grant. We're moving forward with that. This is, speaking of that, I have also, for phase 1, phase 2 of this is, I've submitted to, for a $200,000 grant for a phase 2 improvement, including walkways and some landscaping down there at Mcdonald Park.
And that was through the Collins Foundation for the $200,000 grant.
Yes.
Is this through Anderson Ferry Engineering too?
That's Atkins.
It's just Atkins, not Anderson, just Atkins. Yes. And the amount that this service agreement would be $4,000, but again, that comes out of the grant money.
So is that pending any changes? Like the-
It is. Yeah, unfortunately.
Okay. I would move we approve the memorandum of understanding and new services for the splash pads at Mcdonald Park pending any changes deemed necessary by the town manager or our attorney.
I'll second that.
Motion made in favor? Aye.
Thank you.
All right, the next one is memorandum of understanding of the North Water Extension Project. This one here, I have not seen anything whatsoever on this.
Mr. Mayor, can I speak?
Yeah,
Pretty much what this is the agreement that both parties are agreeing to move forward. There has not been an agreement saying that this is how it's gonna be played out. The memorandum of understanding is just the agreement for us and the commissioners to move forward with this project. As far as the details of what the town's responsible for, what the county's responsible for, that will be laid out in IGA. So all this is the council's agreeing to let us move forward with the commissioners for this project to happen. That's all this is. If there's no terms, there's no agreement saying that the county's doing this, the town's doing this. That will come in IGA, which will come in front of the council when we get to that point.
Well, there is a little bit of understanding, in paragraph 1.2, the county is gonna be responsible for all costs for, planning, design, and construction. The town will not. The town is, going to undertake the annexation of the businesses that are participating in that, as well as, eventually we'll be taking ownership of the project, and we do wanna have oversight on, as the project proceeds, we're gonna have oversight on that.
And this project was initiated by the commissioners. They came to us and said they want to move forward with this project, knowing that at the time, manpower-wise and financially, we were not able to move forward with this project. And the commissioners wanted to fund it and move forward with it. And that's why we're here today.
So is that one pending any changes as well? Or is
Yes.
We have, well, yeah, it has to be unfortunately because we haven't received any feedback from the county at all.
So,
And I wanna be clear, you all do not have to approve this tonight, but if the project makes sense, if what is outlined here is something you support, you might as well.
Yeah, it's completely up to the council.
Correct.
How you want to move forward with this.
Well, this is just fact finding, basically.
It is, it's starting to,
So, yeah.
yeah, it's like a letter of intent.
let
It doesn't bind the county into anything. It does not bind the town into any agreement.
Right.
I make a motion to approve the memorandum of understanding for the North Water Extension Project pending any changes by the town manager or the attorney.
I'll second that.
motion made in second, those in favor?
Right, thank you.
All right. Memorandum of understanding on 911 dispatch services. Michelle, do you wanna?
I would love to talk about this. This is simply an expression of intent to form a memo of understanding. So in 2010, there was an agreement, an IGA, that was signed by all the entities to put together a board and to all participate in how 911 dispatch services was paid for and what amounts each entity that uses dispatch services would pay. But for whatever reason, it fell apart. I'm just reigniting that, and I'm just conceptually saying I'd like to see how this can go.
You'll look on your last two pages, you will see the what's involved.
So I I'm having a meeting with all of these participating entities to talk and have a discussion of, how they want, if they wanna participate, if they don't. I'm reaching out to everybody, because I really want 911 dispatch services to be paid for by everyone, not just the town. So, we're moving forward. I'd like to really get this nailed down and have everybody paying their fair share.
And this again is not an agreement, what it is
It's just a concept.
We've talked about it.
Yeah, so that's
We're all
what
in
this is.
agreement on it, so.
Okay, well, it is pending.
a motion from the
A
council.
motion.
So, are we at the point of making a motion?
Yeah.
I approve a memorandum of understanding 911 dispatch services pending any changes from town manager or town attorney that are necessary.
Motion's made, second,
I'll second.
motion made and second, those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay. Next one, we've all been, let me find my.
Jay, Harlan, we're at the TSP. There you are. Hi, welcome.
Okay, welcome aboard, Jay. You guys hear me?
We have no volume.
Can you talk?
Keep going, turn it up.
Let's go a lot higher than that.
You gotta turn the TV up. You turn the computer up, you gotta turn the TV up. Keep going.
Say something, Jay.
No, just talk. You might have to call him.
We're gonna call you on the phone,
Try it
Jay.
now.
Okay, there you are. Sorry.
I'm not muted.
I think it's on.
I got it. Maybe.
Now it's just gonna bounce around. All right, it'll be fine now. Jay, just talk on the phone.
Okay.
All right, coaches, what's next?
So.
He needs to mute his mic and mute the computer.
Okay.
Mute the big one on the bottom, Shannon. There you go. Okay, go ahead.
Alright, I gotta do it all by the phone, yes. Can you guys hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. Tonight, Mr. Mayor, if you want, I can do the admonishment. Do you want me to do the admonishment?
Go right ahead.
Okay. This evening's hearing tonight is a legislative hearing authorized and required by ORS chapters 197 and 227 and by the Lakeview ordinance number 782, known as the planning ordinance and specifically the development code, which establishes rules for public hearings. The criteria for the TSP is set forth in the staff report. Persons participating in tonight's hearing should direct their testimony, arguments, and evidence toward the criteria identified in the staff report or other criteria in the comprehensive plan or land use regulation applies to the decision. Failure to raise an issue accompanied by statements or evidence sufficient to afford council and parties an opportunity to respond to the issue may preclude appeals to the land use board of appeals on that issue, and failure to raise constitutional or other issues could also include. The record for the subject application includes all materials in the packet prepared for tonight's hearing, plus additional timely filed written evidence and testimony and the oral testimony in tonight's hearing. At the start of the hearing, the presiding officer, the mayor, will ask the council if they have any conflicts of interest, potential or actual to disclose. I would mention to the council, and it sounds like Jeremy's there, conflicts of interest for legislative matters are extremely rare, but I guess it's possible maybe if TSP was planning a road that was going to be eliminate a property that one of the city council people own, and then they would end up getting paid for the right of way or something. I don't really think that's the case here, but just you need to see that. Staff will provide a report that explains the basis of the proposal, identifies and discusses the criteria, and staff will summarize the planning commission's recommendation. If the town attorney is present, and he is, the council will ask the attorney if he has any comments for the council. And then persons who are present and support the TSP will be heard first. Questions may be directed to proponents through the mayor. Persons who are present and oppose the TSP amendment will then be heard. Questions may be directed to the opponents to the presiding official. Any interested public agencies or utilities will then be heard, and then the members of council and the town attorney may direct questions to the applicants or to the staff in this instance, or to clarify any testimony or evidence in the record. At that point, the hearing will close and the council will deliberate to a decision. This is a legislative matter, so it's not necessarily a yes or no outcome. It could be a go work on it some more outcome is an option for the council in a legislative matter. You don't necessarily have to. So that is the admonishment for tonight's meeting.
Okay, I don't believe there's anybody that has any conflict that is here. For one, two, we've been over this transportation system plan before.
Yes, and with that, Mayor, I will, so the next part would be the staff report, and I will ask you for your direction. I mean, there was a pretty full presentation that was given to the Planning Commission. It's about 18 or 19 slides. I'm happy to do that for the council, but if the mayor says we don't really need that, I'm happy to just give kind of an oral summary of what the Planning Commission did and get the highlights of the TSP if that would be your preference.
That would be great. Let's go with that.
So, first, what is a transportation system plan? A transportation system plan it's really a 20-year look for the future of the town's transportation system. The main sort of points of it, one is to set sort of policy related to land use. Like, for example, if somebody comes in for a zone change, and it's a big, for example, a commercial zone change that's going to generate some traffic, the TSP is where the criteria is that zone change would need to explain how what the traffic impacts would be and relate that back to the TSP. So that's an important function of the TSP. The other thing that the TSP does is identify the functional classification of roads in Lakeview, and that is really where your state highways, your arterials, your collectors, and then the rest of the streets are local streets. So that's an important map, and that is also a map that relates to land use. It affects access, for example, if somebody comes in with a commercial development, for example, that's on the corner, and they're on the corner of a local street and a state highway, it may be that they're asked to revise their site plan so that the access is coming off the local street rather than directly off of the highway, so that it doesn't impact an intersection, for example. And then the other thing it does is identify projects, and that's an important thing for any town, in especially your smaller rural towns. A lot of the transportation projects really have to be funded by grants, and you won't be competitive in any grant with ODOT for a project, for example, money for a project, if the project isn't identified in your TSP. So the TSP identifies, the TSP, like the projects, I would say that are the biggest ones that it identifies. It identifies the corridor project on 395 north of 140. That's more of a planning project. ODOT has identified that as a project to and then actually out into the county to make in the future potentially spend some money on to figure out exactly what should happen in that corridor. And within that corridor, they also identified 3 specific intersections that should be addressed. One is, 2 are kind of similar. One is Industrial Lane, and the other one is Missouri Avenue, where they connect to 395. Both of those have non-standard geometries, especially the Missouri Avenue one is, I guess I can only describe it as quite bad. And so the TSP has some sketch drawings of ways that can be improved. And as part of that corridor plan, then they would specifically look at some engineering designs for that. Other intersection is actually 140 and 395. There's also kind of a sketch diagram of what can be done with that intersection. I think that's a more difficult and challenging one, and definitely would require more money to fix. And then the other kind of big one is an intersection of, I think it's H and I can't remember the cross street.
South Third.
It's the high school.
Yeah.
It's the high school intersection. And they also have a sketch drawing for that. In total, the projects that they identify total up to the intersection and street projects and crossings are about $2 million. And then the other thing that they identify is about $7.2 million in sidewalks. So there's quite a bit of the town that does not have sidewalks. And essentially, they're assuming that they're identifying the need for sidewalks. Obviously, the town isn't going to go and build all those sidewalks at one time, but it is something that can be good to chip away at when grants become available for sidewalk projects, and those do happen from time to time. So that's kind of the big picture of the TSP, what it is and what it does. As the mayor mentioned, this has been in the works for long before I started doing any work for the town. I think the consultant's graph, and the consultant for the project was Kittleson and Associates. The work was paid for by ODOT, but it started in May of 2020. So it's two years in process, which Medford's took like 6 years. I guess you guys are really ahead of me. But 3 years of that was just negotiating with ODOT on contracts. So maybe Jeremy's just but at any rate, or the previous city attorney. But at any rate, so that's that's kind of an overview of the TSP. It's been going on for a couple of years. There was a project group that included members of planning commission and the county and city staff, and I can't remember if there was a council person on it or not. And then from that working group resulted in a draft. The draft was transmitted to ODOT in the fall, and at that point I was doing contract work for the town. So Michelle and Don asked me to go through written. I've actually written a couple TSPs and have reviewed lots and lots of them. And so went through it, and we had a study session with the planning commission and a joint study session with the planning commission and council, the members who were able to make the meeting. I came in with some specific recommendations and got their feedback. They directed me to direct the consultant to make those changes. By and large, those changes were made. We went back and forth on one thing. I can't even remember what it is now. That wasn't a deal breaker. So just kind of settled in the middle on that, and then that was the draft that went forward to the planning commission. In front of the planning commission, the meeting, and the recommendation was that the council approve the new TSP with a vote, with 3 voting yes and 1 voting no. So that's, that is the big picture summary of the transportation system plan. Like I said, I've been through it, pretty familiar with the details of it at this point, so I'm happy to answer any specific questions that councilors may have, but with that, I'll wrap up staff comments.
Anybody have questions for him? No? Jay, nobody has any questions?
Well, then I guess we'll need to open the hearing. I'm gonna guess there's just a line of people going out the door on a Wednesday night, looking forward to testifying on the Lakeview TSP.
Yeah. So, you said we need to open or close?
We need to open it even if nobody's there and ask for testimony, and then
Okay.
and then if it's there, you can close it. But it's a procedure.
Okay, so we'll open the hearing. Do we have any testimony under this?
Either for or against.
For or against? Hearing none? Then I guess we'll close it.
There you go.
Okay. All right, now, the council needs to vote on this.
And would you like me to suggest a motion?
Okay,
So if council is inclined to approve it, a motion I would suggest would be direct staff to prepare an ordinance repealing the city's current transportation system plan and replacing with the new 2021 transportation system plan prepared by Kilson and Associates.
okay, do we have a second?
Is that what we wanna do?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. I second that.
We got that
You have to
material
make the motion.
a couple weeks ago. Right.
Yeah.
It's like
I'll make the motion as he suggested it.
Okay, we have one that made a motion, what you suggested.
I'll second the motion.
Motion been made and seconded, those in favor? Aye. All right, it's approved.
Okay, I will come back with an ordinance for the council then. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, Don. Are you waving by?
Yeah, she can't talk.
Thank you, Jay.
Okay, you're welcome. Thank you. Bye.
Okay, now we'll move down to other matters, which is the dispatch contract. So I have a motion on the dispatch contract.
The fire and 911 dispatchers collective bargaining unit agreement needs to be ratified.
Is there any changes to that, or is that
Done.
done? Okay. I'll make a motion to move forward with the new 911 dispatch collective bargaining agreement.
Second,
I'll second.
motion made, second, those in favor? Aye.
It's to accept it, right?
It's to approve it.
It's to accept it.
Yeah, do you accept it? Okay, thank you.
All right, any of the staff have any comments?
A long meeting, you know.
Yeah. Council, do you have any comments? Okay.
Let's close the meeting.
Hearing none, we'll adjourn the meeting at 7:12.
Thank you, council.
It's actually the best city council meeting that I have sat through. Klamath is a madhouse sometimes.
That's good to hear.
That was jam packed.
That's the way we move here.
I do have.
I stopped that. Yeah.
The handicap parking spot.
Charlie.
Can you make that?
No, I apologize.
Hey Jeff, right next door, John, wanted me to tell you, thanks a lot, man, for getting that snow on. He was impressed, he got me at the hospital, said thank you so much.
Because they're all.